So my three influences. That's a great, great question. Starts with Tupac. When I was younger, man, like Tupac was the end all be all for me. Like Tupac had such an impact on the world, period, not just hip hop and rap, but he was a great leader. He was outspoken, sometimes in a bad way, sometimes in a good way, but he would speak and he just had so much passion. And I remember my early days, it started with poetry because people don't know that that's where my rapping came from. And rap to me is an art form, it's rhythm and poetry. Is not just putting rhymes together, but that's where it started. It started off me writing poems. My little broken heart poems, I used to write them in red ink. My happy ones was blue ink, and my deep soul poetry was like black ink. This was when I was like, 14, 15. And shout out to Michelle Ferguson, because she's one of the people I gave one of my first poems to. She just held them for me. That's my sister. But yeah, it started with that poetry. It started with me seeing how intellectual Tupac was, and then I saw him in the studio and saw how much passion he would rap with, and like that passion was infectious no matter, and that's why to this day people, in my opinion, he's not a lyricist. There's people that's way better lyrically than Tupac, but Tupac gave you that passion. Like he didn't have simple rhyme schemes, but it was flow, it was passion, it was content, it was substance. So that's where it started, me just being infatuated with Tupac. I don't even remember my mom told me he passed away. She told me all casually, like, it didn't mean the world to me. That was like, man, a family member died, and then she's gonna take me to school. That was horrible. I had a horrible day at school that day. Still took me 5 years to believe he was actually dead. I don't think he did, but that's another subject. But yeah, it started with Tupac, and then next was Jay-Z, man. Just to see his business acumen, just well-rounded. Like that was the next person that I went on to. And it's funny that when I was really into Tupac, I didn't like anybody because Tupac didn't like nobody. So I didn't like Biggie for the longest because Tupac didn't like Biggie. I didn't have no reason. It's just, hey, Tupac don't rock with you, I don't rock with you. But once I got older, I got my own mind. I started to love Jay-Z. His rhyme schemes, them double, triple entendres, like, and I learned that I studied him. Not just business, but lyricism and his mechanics. And I watched documentaries, and I found out that he doesn't write. Because one of my study formats was I used to try to write all his lyrics down, and I had a problem because if you try to get a Jay-Z song and try to write his lyrics on paper and try not to, squeeze past the margins, his margins are crazy. So I'm like, man, what is he doing? How does he write this on paper? Come to find out, he doesn't. I forgot the exact story, but he would, walk from his job or whatever to home, a few boroughs or whatever, and he had to learn how to write. That's what that lyrical exercise song is about. He had to learn how to write in his head. And I was like, cool, I'm gonna stop writing. No more writing. So to this day, none of my raps, I don't write them. They're all in my head. I can drive around in the car and just write. It's rhythm and repetition, rhythm and repetition, rhythm and repetition. And I encourage a lot of rappers coming up to do that, because you can go beyond the bounds of those limited margins. And it's subconscious to me. Most rappers, I can tell if they just writing on paper, because it's like the margins are there, like I can hear it. So Jay taught me how to have like unlimited flow. And I actually want to read y'all Jay-Z actually has a definition for flow, and guess who wrote it down? Me. It was from another documentary or something I found on YouTube. Becoming one with the music. Find some place inside the music that you tuck in and you don't get in the way of the groove. You insert yourself in the song as an instrument. You're just a part of the track. You are no different than the horn or the snare or the bass or the hi-hat. You found a place in that track to tuck in, and you just don't disturb the groove. Biggest pet peeve of mine is rappers that disturb the groove. Don't mess up the flow. Please don't mess up the flow. So, that goes back to my studying of Jay-Z. And, like I said, he doesn't write. Now, lastly, man, I didn't know that I would have somebody that I love more than Jay-Z, but when that Kendrick Lamar came on the scene, my friend Jennifer used to always tell me, like, man, I think you would like Kendrick, but I was in this rock phase, because my favorite genres are actually jazz first, rock, and then hip-hop and rap. I just listen to more rap because I'm an artist. I got to study my competition or whatever. But Kendrick, man, the spiritual substance he has. I remember my first CD I listened to was Good Kid, Mad City, and for him to start off the album with the Lord's Prayer, that really touched me, because it allowed me to open up and see that I can balance and bring the natural world and the supernatural world together as one, as an artist, which is my goal. I want to be the coolest supernatural rapper ever. But Kendrick and those rhyme schemes, and he has passion too. He's impacted by Tupac as well, as you can see by the end of To Pimp a Butterfly. So Kendrick coming on the scene, and like to this day, that's my favorite artist. Like, I don't fanboy out for nobody. Like, if I met him, I'm not about to faint. I need to talk to you. Like, we got to talk. We got to do a song together. Like, I just need to pick your brain. So those are my 3 influences. And like I said, Kendrick's rhyme schemes, his substance, his spiritual fortitude, taking risks. Like, because a lot of people, you either gonna love Kendrick or you gonna hate it. Like, I know people that said To Pimp a Butterfly was the worst thing ever, but then I know people that said it was like the most impactful album of the year. So Kendrick just inspires me to really continue to take risks and just live in my music. Like, you don't have to worry about what other people are thinking. Like, I don't really think he cares. So those are my 3 influences. Those are the people the 3 people in a nutshell that round me out as an artist. There are other people that people say I sound like that I appreciate, but those 3, when I get those compliments, you sound like Pac, you sound like Jay, or you sound like Kendrick, I love it. So thank you. Those are my 3 influences.